Welcome to E.D.J Studios. This is the E.D.J Podcast. Today we have a full crowd. We got Tyri. We have my boys Poncho.
What up?
Say your name, guys.
Junior.
Junior.
We got Christian in the building.
What's up, guys?
Happy
How you
to
guys
be
been?
here.
So,
Chilling.
Chilling?
good.
What's going
Yeah.
on?
It's
Doing
been a minute
good.
since, it's been a minute since we've been back.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Well, you still owe me an interview, actually.
I do owe you one. Well,
How you guys been?
It's been crazy. I think for me, we've been working on our own thing. Past couple months been kind of hectic for us. I think we kind of been doing
Lots
our
of
own solo
life.
thing. Lots of life in. But we'll be back soon. We'll be back. Public Service Entertainment. We'll be back soon.
That's important. A lot of lifing is good.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
If you're lifing, you're
doing
good or
right.
bad. You're good.
There's a lot of quality going on right now.
Yes.
We got a lot to talk about
Yes.
when we start podcasting again.
Yeah.
So
So it's not
Tyri-
about us. Not about us.
No. Tyree, so you're the main character, bro.
Yeah, I guess so.
You're the reason we're all here, bro.
Yeah.
So if I get this correct, director and writer of
Yes.
movies.
Yes. So
You have this movie, Rabbit Glass, I think it is.
Glass Rabbit.
Glass Rabbit.
Almost.
Yeah.
That was that Spanish coming out.
I
Right?
know. It comes out sometimes. I don't
You
know.
heard it one time and it immediately was in reverse.
Well, yep. So what's going on, brother? Is this your first movie?
Yeah, technically. So I did a few short films probably back in 2022. 4 short films with some friends, and I rented out a theater out in Fitchburg just because I wanted to see my work on a big screen. But that really propelled me into making Glass Rabbit. And it was never really supposed to be, it's a feature anthology. It was never really supposed to be this long. It was supposed to be just another few short films. But I was like, you know what? Might as well put all these ideas and stories I wrote together and, do my best to do it the right way. So, yes, it is my first film, full-length film.
Nice. How long? How long is the movie?
It'll be around an hour, 25 minutes.
Nice. That's a good time. That's a
That's
good
a
time.
good feature length right there.
Yeah.
And tell the people when is it coming out?
It'll be coming out May 3rd. We'll have its premiere at Entertainment Cinemas in Leominster.
Nice. Well, there you guys have it, man. We gotta support our own. Where are you from? Are you from the area?
Yeah, so I'm Central Mass, so I grew up in Fitchburg.
Okay.
Right now, living in Leominster.
Nice. And what got you into movies? What got you into writing, directing? Is this something that you always had? Like you always had this plan, or it just you ended up here kind of like I did?
Yeah, I mean, it was never planned, but I always say I've always been a storyteller. I've always loved and had interest in, books, video games, movies in particular. Even just growing up as a kid, playing with action figures and stuff like that, always making a story. I had my main character, had the enemy, had a love interest, whatever it was. I was always drawn to just storytelling in general. And it never really crossed my mind to, let me try to make him film, but it really, the idea came from it after I graduated from college. So I went to college, got my degree in psychology. And it was maybe a year or two after I was just doing some more self-exploration. And I was like, I love movies so much. I'm watching them all the time. Why not try to make my own? And that's when I first created those handful of short films that I made.
Nice.
So
Before that movie, did you write anything else? Did you have practice, or is this your first project?
So the first screenplay that I wrote was actually in high school, and me and my brother co-wrote it, but we never did anything with it. But I've always liked writing. I was always told I wasn't good at it, but I knew I had ideas, and I knew I had a voice to express. So it wasn't really until after college where I was had the confidence to be able to dive deeper into my imagination,
execute.
and try more. Yeah.
Nice.
I kind of got a question for you, actually. You have such a very distinct style with a lot of the work that you make.
Okay.
And I wanted to know, what is your favorite director?
My favorite director. That's a tough question.
Well, what about what's your influences?
Yeah. What are some of your favorites?
Let's start with that.
Okay, some influences. Well, for the film, there's a lot. I was watching a lot of media at the time. There was a lot of films. One show in particular was Mr. Robot. That was a really big influence on just the creative direction for the film. But, you know, a lot of anthologies like VHS, Black Mirror, The Twilight Zone.
Fire.
Twilight Zone's my shit. Dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Classic, bro. Classic. And then even some more like, you know, classic Japanese animes, Robot Carnival, Memories, stuff like that. I really enjoy like the idea of an anthology and wanted to bring my own take on it.
Gotcha. Well, for those, you know, people that don't know, not me, I do know. What's an anthology?
So an anthology, an anthology is like a compilation of stories, and the length of which those stories are can really vary. So if you have it like in a feature format, they're usually, you know, anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes long, and each story is usually different. So if you guys know Tales from the Hood,
Yep.
Tales from the Crypt, you know, those are anthologies.
Okay.
So you really have like a concept around all the stories, and then, you know, usually like a narrator from the Twilight Zone, or, you know, you have someone who's like pushing you into telling these stories. So that's pretty much what an anthology is. It's a compilation of different stories combined into
Gotcha.
one larger one.
Not to say like that you don't have like an idea for like a full feature film of like one story. Is it that you just have so much stories that you want to tell? Is that the reason why you're going with the path of an anthology for your first project?
So it's funny because those first handful of short films that I spoke about that I did back in 2022, I sort of tried to put that into a makeshift anthology, and it wasn't good. Like they were bad, but it really like motivated me to be like, for one, I can do this, and for two, I just need to figure out how I can do it properly. And again, at the time, it was just I was really into the idea of an anthology and like what my version of that would look like. And I also had all of these stories already written, so I was like, why not just put it all together? And so it just like made sense at the time. It wasn't really like, oh, I'm gonna make an anthology. It kind of just the way things worked out.
Nice.
Now, with Glass Rabbit, I know you said there's 5 stories, right?
Yes, 5 original stories.
What was like the first story that was like the inception of it?
So it's actually that screenplay that me and my brother wrote in high school. That was like the story that kind of sparked everything. And it's funny because it's what it is now is completely different from what it was when we wrote it back, 8 years ago. But that was the story. And then I was, battling around with a bunch of other different ideas, but that was the one. And the story it's called Fetch.
What was that story about, if you don't mind me asking?
So Fetch follows Maya, and she has found herself at a movie theater. It seems abandoned, but it's kind of like at a time of closing, and she's the type of person to come, movie theater's about to close, but she sees the very last like showing of this movie. But she's there on her own, and the more she ventures into this seemingly abandoned movie theater, the more strange things start to unfold for her.
Not sure too much, I see. Not sure.
Yeah,
You don't want to ruin the surprise now.
Gotta paraphrase a little bit.
When you started writing, did you try writing a book first, or was it straight for a screenplay or a movie?
It was straight screenplay.
Did you know anybody? Like, did you have like a friend or somebody that was doing that where, it kind of could get inspiration from, or at least have an idea how to start?
No, not at all. I mean, my brother, he is also a film buff, and he he did a film program one summer and directed a few short films himself. So that, I guess that was kind of like one of the driving forces. But in terms of the writing, it was really just why not, try and write. And you always, especially with screenplays, you hear a lot about like formatting and writing them correctly, but there's really no correct way to write a screenplay. And I found especially with my latest project, I found from the very first screenplay I wrote to the most recent one, it's very different in a good way though. Because, when you first start in writing, you got a lot to say, and you put it all on the page.
Yes. Actually, I actually know what that feels like. I had that problem throughout my whole high school. I don't know if, in high school, they give you these essays. You have to write 5 pages. Everybody freaks out about 5 pages. I would have a problem staying to 5 pages.
Yeah.
Because once I would start writing, then I would have to like figure the whole story out so I could finish. Right. So it would just always end up being longer than the 5 pages. And I always thought it was funny because once I started writing, it just kept coming. It just keeps coming.
I can relate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
do you write also?
In high school, I remember we used to have those, like, we would have to write the 5-paragraph or the 5-page essays. And I remember, they would have us do like I forgot what it was called. It was like the organizer, where you like organize it first in the rough draft and then you do the final thing. I would always like fill it up, just start writing a whole bunch. I always loved that. That was my favorite part of every exam.
Yeah, getting on the run-on sentences and like just
well, I didn't do all that.
I don't know. It's just a thought. I'm just gonna put it
Mine
down
was
on paper.
articulate.
I find like for myself, like as creatives as we are, like it all stems from being young, right? So stories for me started off from watching like animes and like movies and stuff like that. So me, I dabbled into it. So I actually took creative writing class in high school when it was first available, which was pretty dope because it never was available before, and I've always been into like writing something. And I remember like a few years after I tried to attempt to like write a short story, and I remember just jotting stuff down. Like I got this like crazy idea, or it ain't a crazy idea. Like I think I could tell a really cool story, and I wrote this draft, and it was just this quick draft of like, it's like 2-3 pages, and like it wasn't even like sorted out. It was just not even like indented. This is one paragraph. This is another paragraph, and so on. I just like wrote some shit down, and it was because actually we had a friend that was looking to make a film, and I felt myself like so excited to do it that I didn't realize, like when I had somebody look at it with me, they were like, "Oh, you gotta kind of reorganize this." Did you find yourself kind of excited to jump at an opportunity and find yourself kind of like discombobulated at the beginning?
It was very much just trying to get it onto the page because I know myself in that if I try to overthink the process, I just won't get it done, or I'm going to be, I'm thinking I'm doing it wrong.
Right.
So for me, a big thing was just getting my thoughts on a page. And the way everyone writes different, and the way I write is kind of over a progressive period. So it can really just start off with an idea, and it can be like a few sentences of an idea. And then over the course of a few weeks or a few days, I'll always have that idea in the back of my head. And then it can be like I'm in the shower, I'm at work, I'm in the car, and then like, an idea off of that idea comes about. So it's just like, I'm a big believer in just like giving continuous energy into something that you believe in, and then it'll manifest itself.
Now this is an oddball idea, but I have an idea if you're open for it. This is a freebie too. You can keep this one.
Okay.
It's a story about a man who's appalled and shocked by the price of haircuts. Okay. And he goes on a crazy crash out throughout the whole film.
Sounds very familiar, man.
By the end of it, he gets real into wigs.
John
Mr.
Wick type of
Toupee.
crash out.
John Wig.
Yeah, John Wick.
On a serious note, though, I wanted to ask you, right? There's a lot of like cliche stories, and I feel like me and my brother, we had this conversation a lot. Like not so much with movies, but more so like in games. Like it feels like we're never really getting like anything new,
Yeah.
And so I wanted to ask you, like, do you feel like there's a specific kind of story that like hasn't really been told that you've been trying to create?
Yeah, I mean, I've got hundreds of ideas, and
Don't say him. Don't say him.
You got the barbershop one. You got the haircut one.
yeah,
Tell him
the
now.
barbershop one. No, I think everyone has their own version of an idea. I can look at, a Tarantino, a Christopher Nolan, a Jordan Peele, and I can have my own version of, something they created, but that'll be like my interpretation. I feel like regardless of what I create, I'll have my influences, but it'll be like seen through my lens. And I think that's for anyone. And I had this, problem of like really wanting my influences to show in my work. But then I kind of, sat back and was like, my influences will naturally seep into the work, and, I'm going to try my best to, to speak my voice and, show what I can do.
As a musician, I relate to that because I remember like when I first started writing raps, I would make my raps like the most Earl Sweatshirt sounding raps.
I remember
like,
those days.
just saying like every syllable. Like I remember me and my brother would get into arguments because he'd be like, "Just write something," and I'm like,
It wasn't even arguments. It was more so that like I just believed in your talent so much that I was like, stop worrying about what people are gonna think. Like you're gonna be fine. Like no matter what you do, someone's gonna compare you to somebody. Like when it comes to like a creative work like that. So it's like you just gotta, like Tyri said, you just gotta just do it. Like,
and I think in the beginning, everybody kind of copies a little bit of who influenced you, and that's fine.
Absolutely.
Like, a lot of people, they, for whatever reason, they feel pressured not to be so different, and it's okay to start off by just imitating. That's part of. I think everybody's done it.
Definitely.
To be honest, I don't think
if you look at like a Quentin Tarantino, a lot of his influences come from, Japanese and spaghetti westerns, and you can really, but he, like, as a film buff, you can be like, oh, that's from this movie, but he's not his influences naturally flow into his work, but he still has his own unique eye. You know what I mean? It's not like he's purposefully going out of his way to be like, oh, I need to be like Lady Snowblood. I need to be like the good, the bad, and the ugly. He knows he has these influences, but he's doing his best to, make his own creative perspective.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that's a good message to send to anybody that's listening that might find themselves stuck at the beginning process, because I feel like that happens at the beginning, right? Like me trying to figure out writing and you guys doing your projects. We've always been afraid. We've always been encouraged to be ourselves, be different than anybody else. But, for a long time, we don't know how to be ourselves, right? We don't know how to fit into that mold. And just like how you grow up and develop as a person, it takes time, right? You can't just like tomorrow Poncho's going to be, the mogul, you know what I mean? Tomorrow Melo's going to do this. Tomorrow Junior's going to do that. It's not that simple. Right, and it's great to have these influences, like you mentioned, with Tarantino and everything he's got going on, because eventually you find your own identity.
Correct.
Eventually you find like this is the niche, this is what you do, this is how you do it. And it might take some time for you to like, all right, well, let's look at how this person did it for a little bit. Let's see if I can work my way from there, and then maybe have this type of influence. That's why it's important for us to know, like, or for anybody listening, to have your influences to inspire yourself and to inspire you to do what you want to do, because it might be very similar. You might end up making a film very similar to Quentin Tarantino or Christopher Nolan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And those are two big directors that have very distinct styles. But like you said, if you go back far enough to some of their earlier work from college or maybe high school work, that it probably copies something else exactly. Like when I got into drawing, fucking anime characters, I just was tracing Goku all the time. You know what I mean? Dragon Ball, I was just tracing, and then eventually
everybody did that one.
Everybody started with Goku.
Everybody started with Goku. The hair was tight, bro.
Hey, I tripped out when I found out that it's all the same character. You just change the hair.
Literally.
I was like,
Yeah.
I killed myself trying to draw these people.
You know what I mean?
It's crazy.
So it's dope.
It saves time,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, right? So with Glass Rabbit being like an anthology, right? Did you find it also like an opportunity to be like, well, this film I kind of want to have it be like this. This one I kind of want to use this to kind of make my influence of, you know what I'm saying? And also like, what do you think, as a whole, some of your biggest influences were pointing the direction of how Glass Rabbit came out?
Yeah, so originally I wanted to collaborate with other writers. I wanted to collaborate with other directors. My goal was to get different styles throughout the film. And I mean, you know, people say yes and they don't follow through. So it got to a point where I was like, I have these stories, like I'm going to use them. I'm not going to wait for anyone. But then I ended up, the whole process of the film is grand, but there was, at one point there was supposed to be an animated film in there, and that didn't really work out. So that's how I really got with one of my film partners. Her name's Yenny. She's also a producer on the film. She acts in 2 of the stories, and we co-directed Transference, which is one of the bigger produced stories in Glass Rabbit. What was the other part of your question?
Like, what are some of the influences going into it that were like, created the vision, like the visual styles that you ended up choosing for these different films?
Yeah, I think this also answers your question from earlier about, who my favorite director was. I think ultimately a big influence was David Lynch.
R.I.P.
Yeah, rest in peace, David Lynch. It's funny because I forget how I stumbled across him, but my first film of his was his first film, Eraserhead, and it had this weird, very familiar like effect on me, and it made me extremely curious. So I think that was a big driving force, subconsciously, stylistically, into the film. As you've seen a lot of it. It's very. Also, another big influence was liminal spaces.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
Not sure if you guys are familiar with the back rooms.
No.
The back rooms. There's this series on YouTube called The Back Rooms, but it also stems back from this old, like, I'm not sure if it's like a Reddit thread or like a creepypasta like type of story, but it's about like the back rooms is this, you get clipped into this like this space, like this in-between space.
Yeah, like when you told me about like the music that I made for some of the films, and you said that like, oh, it reminds you of liminal spaces. Like my understanding, what I took when I researched some of that is that like it's kind of like it's the story behind an empty space.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's kind of like Kendrick, like If These Walls Could Talk. It's like that. It's like you see that there was some energy here, but like it's not, the people are gone,
right,
but the room and the space still has like a story to tell.
You
essentially
still feel it,
yeah.
It's kind of like what was it? If a tree falls, does it make a noise? It's kind of, well, what if something was there? What if it does make a noise? What is the story behind that noise? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you're trying to fill in the gaps of what possibly could have been, which in the minds of some people, it could make you walk down a very crazy path of like the possibilities of something.
Yeah.
Right? So it's really cool to see that, it's an exploration of thought. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So writing something is one thing. Now, putting it out there for the world to see, for it to be judged.
Yeah.
It's just you up first. It's your baby.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have, I don't know how big is the, your crew for the movie, but 20, I don't know, 10, 20 people. Now they get to judge it before anybody else sees it. They probably have their comments. Oh, this is not good, or this is not, whatever it is. How's that been for you? I know it's coming out soon, so I don't know if you're just a confident dude, but I know I'll be like, oh, shit. I'll be nervous.
Yeah, no. So that one's a tricky one. Throughout the whole editing process, I've been extremely self-conscious about it. If I didn't work with the amount of people that I worked with on this project, I probably would have just like kept it for myself. But I know that would be a disservice not only to the people I've worked with, but for the you know, the film itself. It deserves to be seen. So it's challenging because there are a lot of things as a filmmaker that I'm able to look back on and be like, wish I did that better, or I wish I could have done this, wish I could have added this, wish I had more time for this, more money for that. But I've been really approaching it as like a learning process, and it is really fueling my energy into what I want to do next. But I am very nervous to share it. It is personal. A lot of it, I've told a few people that the writing was very intuitive.
Okay.
So it can seem it is very surreal. It can seem kind of, I wouldn't say all over the place, but there are some very like spacey sections that, you know, you really have to think of like, what's actually happening here.
It's gonna make you think, which is good. I like in a film.
Yeah, and it's also helped me become a better storyteller. Like I said, you know, using that energy for the next project.
If there's any consolation, you know, when Leonardo da Vinci was lying on his deathbed, I think he was in the King of France's arms, and he said a very famous quote. I'm probably misquoting it, but it was something to the effect of, I have failed God and mankind alike because my work was mediocre. And that was like his final dying breath. So if Leonardo da Vinci is saying, if Leonardo da Vinci is saying his work was mid, what hope do we common folk have? You know what I'm saying? So
that same saying, don't drink the Kool-Aid. Don't drink your own Kool-Aid.
I think that's
Give
like
it to everybody else. You don't drink it.
But we are our own worst critics.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think that's like an artist like problem. Like every artist is like their own worst critic. Doesn't matter like if you're a musician, if you're a painter, or you know, take photos. Like
and it's tough to be vulnerable, you know, especially as an artist. You're sharing a lot of yourself, whether you want to believe you are or not. Like I said, the project it's very personal, so it can be challenging to be intimate in those moments. But I'm excited. I'm proud of it. I'm happy with where it's at, and I'm excited to show it.
If you don't mind me asking, like, if you could kind of sum it up, just like what was the process from beginning to where you are right now, like the casting, and like I'm sure a lot of details went into find the right people for a lot of these different parts. Especially if there's 5 different stories. I'm sure there's 5 different.
Yeah, you can also talk about like how long it took too. Like I know it's been in production for a while now.
Yeah, so altogether 2.5 years. It's crazy because I actually wrote that down. I was trying to look for that somewhere but I couldn't find it. But I wrote it down. I said I want this to be finished in 2.5 years, and to the date, it's finished 2.5 years.
That deserves a round of applause, right?
Yeah,
there. That's very difficult to put it down.
If it was me, it'd be like 3.5 years. I can tell you.
5 years later.
No, because I put it into perspective for myself. I wanted to challenge myself. I said, do I have the patience and do I have the passion to be able to put the time it's going to take to create something to the best of my ability? And so it was not only a challenge to myself, but you know, I put it into perspective because, you know, films, depending on your budget, usually take feature films usually take that long. But I started off producing it myself. I had no idea what I was going to do. I had 2 or 3 people pop into my mind who could film it, come on as DPs, and I just started DMing people. And I was fortunate enough, this one of my DPs, I went to school with him actually. His name's Trenton, and shout out Trenton. He shot a lot of the film, which I'm, you know, extremely grateful for. We went to school. We weren't really like friends. We went to college together. Weren't really friends. We had a few classes together, kind of like hi-bye type of friend. But we really, you know, connected more after I reached out to him to collaborate on this project. And he shot the concept and I think 2 of the short films. But I was really just DMing people. I was like, I need a cinematographer, I need actors, and I need locations. So a lot of it, I was just kind of like putting in the work, and a lot of no's. I got a lot of no's. I was left on red from a lot of people, but at the time I was like, I'm only putting my energy towards the people who are gonna put the same amount of energy.
Yep. Very
know?
important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a big believer in like things will unfold the way that they're supposed to. And I'm extremely grateful and fortunate that with this project, a lot of things really unfolded in the ways that they were supposed to. And, you know, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of times where I'm like, fuck, you know, this shit ain't gonna work out. Like,
I was actually like, something I was thinking was like, what was one of the most like technical, like just difficult, where you felt like, all right, I don't know how I'm gonna get this idea executed. Like, this is damn near impossible. Did you ever have like those specific moments while you were filming?
I'm a big visual person, so I already have the film edited in my head. That's the one thing I was pretty confident about, going in and directing visually what I wanted to see. You know, of course, it doesn't always turn out exactly the way you see it in your head, but you do your best to get close to it. So there were like some shots where I'm like, how can we pull this off? But it was over the course of like networking and getting to know these people and understanding what they're capable of, what ideas they had. I was very open to like other people's ideas, actors, you know, the DPs, and I was very open to it. And if it made sense, I was like, let's do it. You know, why not? So I was I think to answer your question, was just very open and, you know, willing to collaborate with other people, because I'm not going to sit here and tell you like, this was all me. I mean, a big portion of it was, but at the end of the day, like, it wouldn't have been possible without playwright, you know, without, you know, my actors, my film partner. Like, the film is only alive because of everyone who was involved in it. You know, I was just leading the train, you know. So.
Yeah, man, I keep hearing about these playwright guys. I don't know how they look like. I'm trying to figure that shit out for a while.
I heard they suck.
Yeah, I heard that too, actually, man. Yeah. Quite a few people, man.
Well, you know, kind of in that same line that you were speaking about how much control you have in the movie. You do know, usually if you write a movie, you usually don't have this amount of control. Usually, right. You write a book or you write whatever, and then it's whoever buys it and they
send it off. Yeah.
Exactly, they get to spin it however they want. Will you ever be comfortable with that once you write a project and just let it go to somebody else and have them figure that out?
I've thought about this. I think about this quite often, because I'm writing a feature, and I ask myself, if I'm unable to fund it, if I can option the script and sell it. I think my only like condition,
it's hard, bro.
My only condition with that is like, I'd want to be on set. I'd want to be a part of the production to learn. If I were to give it to, you know, a producer and another director would take it on. My only condition was I want to be on set. Like, I want to be involved and be able to learn. But yeah, I mean, that's challenging. You know, especially with something you write.
Yes.
So do you feel afraid of what future projects can come with it? Like, because you want to have, as an artist, right? You want to have so much control over what you create, right? Because you have a vision, you have a thought. You're afraid of, not say afraid, but there are going to be times where people are going to misinterpret something you might write down. Like, everybody that reads one script could read it multiple different ways depending on whose hands it's in. Do you feel with your projects that it could? Do you actually like that other people could interpret the work differently as it gets in other people's hands? Do you find the interest like that might help you in your creative process in any way?
Yeah, because the story becomes something completely different after it's said and done. From the moment the final script is finished to, you know, the final edit is finished, it's going to be completely different. And that is, for one, the the locations that you think of can look different compared to how they look in your head. The shooting style of a DP, the way the actors interpret the characters. So the story really evolves, and I like to be open to that evolution, because I already know that the story will not be exactly what it is on the page. It's going to be something completely different, but I'm a big believer in that it's going to be something better, because it has more creativity in it from the actors, from the producers, the camera crew, the lighting crew. Like, every single one of those artists and those filmmakers adds their own creative perspective into it, and it adds to the story. It adds to the creation of the film.
Has that affected like your next project that you're working? Like, now that you talked about other people getting it, right? So I'm going to assume that from what you wrote down on paper as a script a year ago, 2 years ago, to where it is now is completely different from, I won't say completely different, but somewhat different from what you initially wrote down. Has that made you approach your next project differently?
Absolutely. It's made me want to increase the quality in terms of the acting, the cinematography, the lighting, how I'm directing. It really has made me focus really on including more departments, set design, casting director, like we were talking earlier, SFX and stuff like that. So it has made me become more intentional, to want to just, bring more creative minds into the story.
Do you see yourself branching out into animation?
Yeah, I mean, there was originally supposed to be an animated sequence within the film, but I really underestimated how long that was going to take. But I would love to. It's crazy, because even before I was writing screenplays, I wanted to write a manga.
Oh,
so
Same here.
I taught myself how to draw, and after I realized this is going to take a lot longer than I expected, I started writing the story, because I was like, I'm a better writer than I am a drawer. So I started writing the story, and that is kind of like the propelling force that put me into writing films. But yes, I would love to. I would love to do, write for animation, direct, whatever. I love anime.
Nice.
What would you say is like the in the process of creating a film? What was the hardest? What was the hardest part of this whole process for you that you found the most difficult? And also vice versa, like in another sense, what was the most like the fun you found in it? What was the thing you didn't think you were going to find fun in that you actually enjoyed the most out of?
Yeah, what was the most rewarding?
Yeah, I think the most challenging part was finding locations. That's still the most challenging for what I'm working on now. But finding locations, like having the funds. Again, I'm very fortunate that things worked out the way they did. I funded this entire project myself, obviously with the help from a few friends and family. But that was definitely the most challenging part, was the funding, finding the right locations. And on the flip side of what I really enjoyed connecting with the other filmmakers who were a part of the film. Just getting to know them, getting to see like their perspective and what they thought about the story. And then what I really loved was just being on set. I loved being on set, seeing everyone set up, camera crew set up, lighting set up, actors getting, prepped. And, just really, there were a few moments where I really just like, stood back and really took everything in. And then just that moment of, call in action and, watching everyone go to work. So
would you say connecting with people was the thing that you loved that was unexpected? Like you didn't think you would like it as much as you did?
I think consciously, yes. But I think a big part of the filmmaking on a subconscious level was that that desire for connection, especially connection with creative minds, and being able to, have those like, deeper conversations about what we're working on and how we see the world and stuff like that. So I think like on a more subconscious level, that's what I was looking for. But consciously it was like surprisingly like, oh, like I really, enjoyed connecting with these people.
Nice. How was the music like? How was the process of like picking the sounds and the music for a movie? I don't know if you had any idea how that would go or what to do when it came to that. And I know you said, some playwright guys helped you.
Yeah, we can get into the playwright lore. It's funny because I was thinking about this the other day too, about when I first met you guys. It was at a kind of like a artist and creative like get together, and I didn't even know these guys.
Yeah.
And they played some of their music, and I was like, I was really fucking with their music. So I was like, it made me started to visualize scenes from what I was writing in my film, and I was like, I gotta say something to them. I gotta I gotta plant the seed. So
It's funny. Yeah. Michael Jackson, they used to say that he was like that. Music for him was in pitch. Sound would turn into a picture. So it's funny to hear you say that, because he used to. I forget the name of the person, but I think it was a director or something. He used to say that Michael was, every time he hears sounds, it was also a visual.
I think they call that like synesthesia or something like that.
Synesthesia.
Not sure.
Synesthesia,
Yeah.
where like you associate different things, like a color might have a smell in your mind.
Yeah. They said Michael's the way he created, how he was a creative was different than any other person that director has ever worked with, ever seen.
Yeah.
And he worked with like Prince and a bunch of people, but he said Michael was just different.
Yeah,
when it came to that.
He had no music theory knowledge too, which is also worth mentioning.
That's pretty crazy.
He would
I
just
think
like
the king of pop
create
had no
it.
music theory knowledge.
He used to just record it, like he would beatbox the entire like song, and then he would like section it, like he would do the drums, and then he would do the melody, and then he would just like play it for people, and then they would arrange it based off of that.
you're just born to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, not to give away the vibe of the film, and but like you guys played it right. What did describe a little bit about what you guys, your sound and your music and your influences?
Oh man, I remember when you first approached us that day. Like after we showed you some of our music, and you're like, "Would you guys ever be down to like collab and like work on a film or anything like that?" I don't know how you felt about it, bro, but like I remember in my mind, I was like, "Bro, I could barely finish a song." I told you this before too, that I was like, "Dude, like that sounds super exciting, but also like overwhelming," because I was just like,
Definitely overwhelming.
yeah, like I can barely finish like a full song like without running into like some roadblocks, because that's just the point in time where I was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then like once you started showing me some of the film and like started giving me the scripts and stuff like that, like I was like, oh yeah, like it just started to just naturally kind of just come together, like different ideas that I would have for different scenes, and like whether or not you use them or not, like when I, you know what I'm saying, when I approach you with those things, like it was just like so fun to just be like, oh yeah, I could hear this in my head. Like it's just like how you said, like you see the visual,
Right.
and in my head I'm like, oh, I hear this, like, and it just allowed me to express myself musically in a way that I didn't know it was something that I needed. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like making music for so long with my bro, it's like we have our own ways of doing things and our own visions that we like, similar to like how you'll make like what would you call it? Like screenwriting?
Yeah, like a screenplay or script.
Yeah, screenplay. There you go. We've also like made stories about our music and stuff like that. So it's kind of like how it translates,
Yeah. And like for me, I very vividly remember, like I remember we played our songs, and you I think you were sitting behind us, and like you tap. I think it was me on the shoulder, and you're like, "Man, like your music sounds dope. I'm working on this, these movies, and I'd like for you guys to, help out and maybe like work on the soundtrack." And I was like, "Man, that sounds pretty dope." And then when you presented your film, like when I saw the Limbo Labs and like all the crazy, I was like, "Oh no, this is different. This right here, this is different."
Yeah. And that's because that's like what all of the networking was. I would just approach people, and usually I get a no. I'm like, usually people are like, "Oh yeah, I'm interested." Wouldn't really hear back from them. So I'm grateful that you guys stuck with me through all the way through. Yeah. I know it's challenging. I knew from the very moment that I was going to do this, it was going to be a challenge for everyone.
Nah, I'm also thankful that you gave us like the opportunity, because it's like it's I don't know how we would have even started to do things like that. Like to score like movies and add music to scenes, like, you know what I mean? Like,
I could definitely admit that like I don't think I could have been able to do it. Like if it wasn't for my bro like really locking in, like I don't think I could have even been, because like I would listen to like his ideas and like see the movie, and I'm like, man, I don't even know where I would even begin. Yeah.
So did you guys like find any roadblocks? It's because now it's a couple extra players in there, right?
Right.
So you're talking about you got the visuals, now you got to get the sound, which is just as important as the visuals. For you guys that were handling a lot of the sounds, like in collaboration with Ty, you had to, I mean, I'm assuming there was some type of like roadblocks that you guys had that might set him back, and vice versa. You know what I mean? What are some of the things that you experienced in this process?
Being like the first big, compilation of films or scenes and things and whatnot of that nature that that I've worked on and that my brothers worked on, like the process was pretty much, let's just throw some stuff out there. Like what sticks and what doesn't stick. He's the director. He's going to know what he wants in the film, what's going to be the tone of how everything is. Because like a lot of it too was like, I haven't seen a lot of the film yet. And it's like, I've read the scripts, but I haven't visually seen like what's going on, And, you did your best to edit and get scenes out to me like as soon as it was ready, like, you know what I mean? And you felt confident. And it would always help to be... like my process when I was doing things was I would have the script open, like right there at the same time while I'm watching it. You know what I'm saying? And then I'd be like, oh, okay, I see the Tony's going for, and I see like how this worked and how this didn't work and how he changed maybe like a few words here and there. You know what I'm saying? And I would just, well, all right, let's give it a crack. Let's see what sounds I got. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And a lot of it too was also me discovering like my own sound library, like. Let's see what I can work with here. Like, this is like a real edgy, moody feel to this scene. Like, let's see what I got in my library, like new sounds and whatnot. So it was like a whole lot of like, let's see what sticks. Let's figure out and discover what kind of sounds I got, what I can work with, what I can do for him. There was some roadblocks, like, just having like creative funks or things like that of that nature, where it's like, I don't really got anything for this scene right now. Like, and there were certain times and certain weeks and spans and stuff where I wouldn't, talk, or I wouldn't give you anything to work with, just because I just was like creatively stuck in my own ways. Whether it was life hitting me with certain things, or I just wasn't in the headspace for that particular movie. You know what I'm saying? But then there was also stuff like, you would come like with Twisted Wonderland, like you showed me that, and I was like, oh, as soon as I seen that, as soon as I heard like what was going on, I was like, that's right up my alley. Like I know exactly.
You felt connected to that one.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like with Fetch, like that was a little bit harder for me to work with just because of the nature of that came first. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But then like once I did the Twisted Wonderland and the stuff just started flowing, you know what I'm saying? I was like, oh, now I gotta. And you remember I would come back and I'd be like, I got some ideas for this. Like whether they stuck or not wasn't really important to me. It was more so like just the ability to come back with a new lens after already working on something else where it was like successful in your eyes and you were happy with like the vision, how it came out. It was like, oh, now let me go back and do this. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it was just great. I just think the overall experience of everything was just super dope. I would oftentimes work on scenes and whatnot, and you were always there, like, to give me feedback, like, and then you also helped as well with some certain scenes on certain movies. creating stuff and whatnot. And I just think that for like a first go, like an incredible experience. Like,
Yeah.
I can't wait to do more. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
It sparked something within me where I'm just like, I could do this for the rest of my life.
And I think like for me, like seeing my brother like locked in and just like trying ideas and just like even if it was a little bit rough, like it wasn't like it was still a work in progress, that kind of gave me more of like the confidence to just try and mess around and like play with sounds and see what I like. Cause I think going into it, like you see like this work that's already been done and it's like missing a certain element. And like for me, I was like, man, I don't even know what I would do.
But
But that
see
was like a big part of it though.
That is so cool, man, because a lot of people are so scared. See, like he just did. He just put himself out there. He would just ask people. A lot of people are so scared of just that part right there.
Yeah.
Just of the no. And it's like, really, what does it do?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I learned that through this whole process of, sometimes I invite people over. When I first started, I was just having anybody in the, just to have content out there. And then I was like, that's not why I did it. Yeah. I'm like, this is not why I did this. So I stopped. If you notice, like I slow down on my putting episodes all the time because I'm like, I did this because if I want to talk to somebody, like with yourself, I'm interested in writing. I'm like, this is perfect.
Right.
This is perfect for me. I'm going to get something out of this. And it's not just views. I'm actually inspired by what you did. But a lot of people just get stuck on the no part. I have gotten no's from people that I'm like, why do you say no? What
do you got going on?
Exactly. And then,
audacity.
Yeah. Like I'm like, really? And then I have people that I'm like, you say yes? Wow, that's crazy.
You never know who.
Yeah,
say yes.
exactly. That's the whole point. You got to put yourself out there. The worst thing that can happen is it's no.
Right.
Yeah. I think I've come to the same point as you, because for those who are watching, I done my own podcast with me and Junior.
Stop copying me, man.
But after your game, man, I run the video.
But you're right. I mean, the same thing that happened to me. Like I slowed down because of multiple different reasons, life and everything. But then we got veered away, and I think you sensed it too. We kind of got veered away from our design, like what we wanted to do, because my main goal was to like connect with artists, connect with people, and help them chase dreams, help them think about their dreams, kind of put that back on their life, right?
Yeah.
To kind of help them expand that part of their life and give them more quality. But we were getting just have people come on, right?
Yeah.
And then it just you come on, you want to come on, people be hitting me up to come on, and it just end up being chilling, people drinking, and then I was like, all right, we're getting off the rails. Like this is not what I wanted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and it was
Lost the plot.
Lost the plot, right? We lost the plot. Like we got so far away from what I wanted to do and what the project was meant to be and what we were working on. It was like it didn't feel like I was contributing to what my passion project is anymore, and we weren't feeding into that, and we slowed down because because I wasn't feeding into it anymore. I got myself pulled away from my project. I had to slow it down. I had to take a step back. Took a couple months off.
Which is completely fine.
Which is completely fine. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna come back.
Yeah.
Don't y'all worry. We'll be back. But I think it's important for anybody that's listening to like it's okay to take a step back from your project for a little bit. But we really got to recognize like, all right, where it is and stop it from the bleeding, right? Because if we just let it bleed.
Let me piggyback that thought.
Yeah.
So when I was on the road and I was working on Twisted Wonderland and Fetch and stuff like that, I remember at one point in time I spoke to Tyson. Shout out Vibe Street Productions, Tyson. Yo. So I spoke to Tyson on the phone for like maybe like an hour or so. He was just calling me to just catch up. You know what I'm saying? Like say, hey, how's it going? And that was actually something that me and him were talking about. That like. He had taken a seat back creatively, like he feels like he had been like in a rut and whatnot. And I was like, dude, don't even worry about it. Like that's just the thing that happens. Like when you're creative, like I told him, I was like, I remember like Tyri gave me Twisted Wonderland to work on, and like at first, like I was so excited to work on it, and then like for a little while, like a few weeks, I was just like in my own creative funk. You know what I'm saying? And then like at one point, like once things just started clicking and stuff, I just started getting like better and better at like painting the scene. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I told him that like I feel like that's just like a natural part of the process.
Right.
Definitely.
And I wanted to ask you too, right? Knowing that you worked with me and my bro and other people on the film, I can't remember the other gentlemen's names. That worked on this film.
Errol and Aiden. Yeah.
Errol, yeah.
Students at Berkeley. Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
Where I know you had said that like just watching the film without the sound, you were like worried about a lot of things, different scenes and whatnot. What was the moments like when you saw those same scenes with like this fresh music and this fresh perspective on things? Like, what was that like?
Yeah. So
That's a good question.
there's the main challenge. There's another, what we were talking about earlier. A big challenge with this whole film was the sound. That was a mistake on my end. I didn't really dedicate a sound mixer on production, and it wasn't really a big thing for me going into post, but I saw how big of an issue it was once I started editing. And I cut the film fairly quickly, and I was like, there's something missing. I don't know what it is. So I would constantly go back to each story and like try new things, try this, try that, and I'm just like I don't know what it is. Like what is it that isn't working here? And then once you guys started sending me some sound, and I started playing around with some my own sounds that I found online, I'm like, oh, so this is what it is. It's the music, the sound design was really the bringing the visuals to life. Because I have these great visuals. My DPs captured great visuals, but I'm like, there's something missing here. And once I put on some of your score, or I found some sound effects online, I was like, this is the color that it was missing. Like, this is the layer that was missing. And so it kind of like, it just like opened my eyes. I'm like, wow, I really took the sound in a film for granted. It's, I would say, just as important, if not maybe more than capturing the visual. But it really like, I was like, first of all, I was like, damn, I'm great. Playwright gave me some shit to work with. I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, bro, if I don't get this music from them. But it really like, not only did it like, help me take a step back and put that into perspective, but it also like gave me reassurance through the rest of post, because I was like, all right, if something feels off here, I can come back to it with some sound. So there were times where I would go a week without doing anything, and that was intentional, because I'm like, all right, I've been staring at my screen for 4 days, nothing new is coming up, I need a break. So I would come back to it, and then usually by then, like, you'd have something for me, so I'd be able to come back with it with fresh eyes and like some sound, and it would really just opened things up, and it really pushed the editing process, gave more energy into the editing process.
Yeah, that's some real shit. Sometimes you got to step away for a second to really get back into it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's like the producer's curse. Like, even with our music, like, you can't just keep hearing the same thing over and over.
Right.
Because at first, when you're in that flow and it just comes to you naturally, you're like, this is a banger. This is going to be amazing. And then you hear it like so many times and you're like, it's got to be better.
Yeah.
It's got to be better, But then you step away, you know what I'm saying? You don't come back to it for like however much time you need. Yeah. And then you get that fresh, perspective. And you're like, nah, that was a banger. What was I thinking? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I was right.
Yeah, exactly.
No, so
you start to second guess.
I don't feel so bad about myself. I have been stuck on 2 pages of a book for like 3 years. So it's okay. I still have time to figure it out.
You know what you do? You try flipping that page. You know what I mean? Try get on the next page, see what happens.
Turn a new leaf.
Yeah.
But I actually had a question for you because, one
got
of
a
the
lot of
things,
questions, dog.
Yeah, one of the things that really struck me was how you mentioned that like your brother was an influence, and I could relate to that personally because like if it wasn't for my brother, I wouldn't really be making music at all, Right. So I wanted to say like specifically when it comes to like the process of like coming up with an idea, like are you someone who you can just kind of like create something and then go, or do you think like having like your brother in those early like steps was really like critical, and like even now to this day, like do you think it's still critical?
I think in terms of the involvement, in terms of my brother's involvement in, you know, my art, he's extremely supportive.
Nice.
He's the one person where like if I need a confidence boost, I go to him.
Younger or older?
Older brother.
Okay.
Older
All
brother.
right. What's the age gap?
3 years.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
he's in his 30s. You guys are older than him, actually, which is crazy to think about.
Fuck off, man.
Anyway,
My back hurts.
Everywhere, man.
but he's the type of person where like if I go to him and I talk with him, I like 100%. I can see his authenticity and the belief that he has in me and in himself. He's an extremely confident person, so a lot of that kind of leaks onto me, which I need in certain moments, and it's good to have his support. He's been there since the first short film. Like I said, we wrote that short film back in high school. What was the other part of your question?
Just like you pretty much answered it, but just about like when it comes to like executing that idea. Like how much of his involvement was there like in the first beginnings of it, and like how much of it is there like now?
Yeah. Well, a lot of my ideas, they come, I would say they come when I allow my mind to just kind of float. They come in dreams, and I write everything down, no matter if it sounds stupid when I wake up, or if I look back at it 2 months later and I'm like, what the fuck is this? But I write everything down. So a lot of the ideas I can reapproach, and then there are usually a few that really stick out to me, and I bring them over into like a document, and then I just start putting ideas down. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. So yeah, that's in terms of like, you know, how
Is he
the
still
ideas
somewhat
come up.
involved with everything?
My brother?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. He helps produce some of the film, and like executive produce for funding.
That's dope.
So he like, bro, whatever you need, let me know. Like, I'm there to help. Always supportive. I'll send him clips of like, you know, trailers, pieces from the film. He'll give me his feedback and stuff like that, and I really value his perspective and his feedback on things. So
And that's good that you have that, because like for me, you know, there's a lot of moments like where I'm making a beat and I'm like, this sounds like ass. I have so many like ass beats in my computer that I've made them. I don't even know what they sound like. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And you know, a lot of I would say like the highlights of my experiences with making music comes from just being in the studio, like working on a song with my brother, and then like hearing a verse or hearing like a hook or something that you didn't even really like think it was gonna be that crazy, but then like when you hear it in the studio after it gets touched up, and you're like, oh, that's me, you know what I'm saying? Like you get the goosebumps, you know what I'm saying? Like that's
I'm not even kidding. There's been multiple times we're in the studio and like my brother will not have shown me, or like I haven't heard the verse, like, or he'll still be writing like on the way to the studio.
Yeah, even like to the studio,
right?
Like I just got nothing.
Right? I'll have the beat or whatever. I'll have like a little idea or something to just throw at him, and like we'll go to the studio. I'll hear it for the first time, like being recorded right there, and it will play it back, and I just start tearing up because I'm like, we're fucking godlike. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't believe he just did that. Like,
Yeah,
that's
crazy.
Nice. But you know, we touched on it earlier. One of my dreams, which the guys already know, I would love to write an anime at some point. That's like ultimate. Like that would be, of course, right at successful anime. Not just because you could just write something, but something that actually, you know, sticks. And I guess this question is for everybody, but I'll start with you first. Favorite anime? And why?
That's right for the jugular.
Favorite anime. Okay, so I'll give some of my favorite movie animes. Love Paprika.
Oh, dude, that's the first one I was thinking. What the hell? Get out of my head,
Fire.
Love Perfect Blue.
That's another good one.
Perfect Blue. Yeah.
Love all the Ghibli. My favorite is Howl's Moving Castle.
Fire. Banger.
In terms of shows, I'll give you some of my new favorite new age, some new gen ones. Solo Leveling is fire.
Everybody's on that.
We gotta watch
Someone just told me about that. Yeah, I gotta
Solo
watch
Leveling
that.
is fire.
Yeah, I'm stuck. I can't. I'm watching it with my wife, and I'm like, I have time right now, so I want to watch this episode, and now I gotta wait for you to have time. It's like
Super dope.
Yeah, it's
but
dope. It's
my
dope.
number, it used to. This is based off of nostalgia. Based off of nostalgia is Naruto, but I would say my favorite of all time is Attack on Titan, and a close second is Vinland Saga.
Vinland Saga. That's
Another
one
one.
I haven't seen.
Poncho, you next.
I would say these guys know. Akira is one of my favorites.
Fire.
Yep.
That's a good pull. That's a good pull.
The bike scene, knock the heads off.
I wish I said that one.
Yeah,
Was
no, it's fine now. Akira has been a big influence on a lot of like my art and like kind of my visuals that goes on in my head. So Akira is one. Anime series. I'm a big Dragon Ball fan. Like I'm a big
Classic.
I'm the OG.
It was started.
And it was like I think it was like the first thing that was a cultural phenomenon, right? It's like you got your friends like talking about, you had your friends printing them out, talking about Dragon Ball AF.
I think
Super Saiyan 5.
Dragon Ball Z was like united generations.
Yeah.
Like those who not watch
Yeah.
cartoons till Dragon Ball Z came in.
Yeah.
It was like it was cool for
That
everybody
was
to
like
do.
the first step, and then as my taste evolved and like appreciated the storylines that some of these animes like can bring, it was a Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Yes.
That's a good pull.
That shit, I just finished rewatching it again.
Damn, I gotta
yeah.
I gotta watch it.
Yo, it was just so, and honestly, Full Metal Alchemist, the first one was actually pretty good in comparison of the second one. The second one just carried the storyline more, so I suggest watching both. If I just want straight action, bro, Solo Leveling, dog. Solo Leveling. That's coming from the new gen. Kaiji number 8's hot right now for me also.
Chainsaw Man's dope too.
Yeah.
JJK.
Well, that's fire. That's fire.
JJK right now give me major vibes right now. JJK. JJK's cool. Jujutsu Kaisen, if you don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Junior.
Yeah. Ultimate favorite, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood's definitely up there. I like some weird animes too. I like Hajime no Ippo.
What?
Yeah.
One of my favorites all
Yeah,
time.
the boxing anime. That's
a
'cause
classic.
boxing
Hey,
is
man.
my favorite sport.
I got in shape off of that shit. No lie.
Yo.
I got in shape watching.
You know how many motivational reels there are off of Ippo? Dude?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's funny. I put my kids on. My kids is they're in soccer, so I wanted to teach them like competitive, not giving up, and like it's hard work. So I got them into it. It's funny because they love it, and it's funny because it's terrible graphics. My kids is 10 and 9. It's terrible, and they got hooked on it because of the
Story is just so good,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Takamura versus Hawk. To this day, that's the best fight I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's, don't watch it with your kids because there's some things in there that might not be good.
Yeah, the penis jokes are hilarious.
Yeah.
Paprika is definitely one of my favorite, like film wise, and Spirited Away is definitely like I know everyone loves Spirited Away,
Yeah.
but that was definitely one for me that I was like, wow, this is just something else, dude. Like, because I'm a big person when it comes to like imagination and stuff like that, and like Spirited Away just like it just captures that essence of like being taken to like another universe and whatnot. But yeah, those are like a few of my favorites there.
It's a respectable list.
What's up, bro?
I feel like you guys pretty much named all the heavyweights, but for me, I would say, like, if we're going, all right, so my favorite of all time is probably Baki the Grappler.
Oh,
Yeah.
Baki's
was
fire
like-
too.
Oh,
That was
okay.
one of like
Yeah.
the very first, like I remember watching it with my bro, like before I even knew what anime was. I just remember like a scene where like he gets on his head and does like the spin, like he steals the dude's move.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, what is this? Like, this is crazy.
Yeah,
And,
you know
like
what's
just
funny?
the whole like
I
setup.
I didn't know shit about grappling. One
Yeah.
of my friends was younger, and we used to tussle around, and I was bigger than everybody, so it was like not that for me. It was easy. And then one day, this little dude got me in one of those fucking grappling. I'm like, what? Yo, I learned that watching that. He told me, he's like, I was watching this anime, and that's how I learned it from. I'm like,
Fire.
God damn.
I'm gonna get into that.
He's so tired.
It's fire.
But yeah, I would say like of all time, definitely Baki the Grappler. I think Baki is just like, it's so ludicrous, like it's so insane, but it's just like I'll always love it. Like, but I would say like more recently, I would have to go with Mob Psycho 100. I think it's like
it's in my top 5.
it's one of those like it's just like the perfect coming of age story. Like it has like the hype, flashy, like crazy powers and stuff, but like at its core, it's just like a kid coming of age, like coming into his own skin, coming into his own life with these godlike powers, but just wanted to be like normal, you know?
Yeah.
And I always thought that that's just such like a timeless story and a really cool take on like an overpowered character. But yeah, I would say like as far as like shows go, those are like my top favorites. And then like for movies, I would have to go with Howl's Moving Castle. I think that one's fire.
That was dope too.
Yep.
Me, I will have to go with Naruto. Same thing. Just
Classic.
a lot of a lot of sentimental going on there.
Yeah.
I actually discovered my love of writing through Naruto.
Yep.
It was so long, it was so detailed. One of the first animes was like everybody's character somewhat is so deep. That's when I first started paying attention to like, this is cool. The fighting scenes is cool, but who's writing this shit?
Yeah.
That was the first anime that I'm like, who is writing this?
Yep.
And then I'm like, you know what? I think writing is probably like something I would like to get into. So I would say Naruto to me, I'll put it number 1 for that reason. And then of course, Dragon Ball Z is gonna always have a
Fire.
If you're over 30, you Dragon Ball Z is gonna have
Always
fun
gonna-
for you. Yeah.
What's funny is we were talking about like that's what got you into like writing. I have a very unconventional way because of how I got into writing.
I'm trying to get into it. I don't know. I'm trying to
You're
get
into it. Plain and simple. I have a very unconventional like show that got me into writing. It's funny how I bring it up. Dawson's Creek. I don't know if you guys ever watched Dawson's Creek.
Nah.
So spoilers for anybody that hasn't watched it. At the end, this girl has to pick between Dawson and his friend, and then it ends in a way where it's like you don't know who she ends up with. But it goes into a scene where it's just a TV show, and then it's that the character, the blonde character who is Dawson supposedly, and the girl like getting together. But then they're sitting down and watching a TV show, and it zooms out and it pans out, and you see like the girl choosing the other guy and not Dawson. But then Dawson got to relive his dream, his world through the TV show. So it's like that's so dope. Like to create a story that even if life doesn't go your way and the way that you want it to, you could still create a story and live through something else, a different muse, to satisfy that part of your life. Even though it might not end the way you want, you can have something end the way you want it to because you have that creative control. So
I was gonna say,
Man,
I
check out the show.
got one more. Right. I don't know if you guys seen it, but Paranoid Agent.
Oh, I've heard good things about that.
That's
Yeah,
another
never
one
seen
that was like, holy shit,
Because
this is
that's
making me
Satoshi
think.
too, right? Satoshi Kon, that's too.
I don't really remember who's
I think it is
the guy,
yeah.
but yeah, dude, the music was phenomenal, and just like the visuals were just crazy. Like,
Yeah.
like working on Glass Rabbit, it made me have those vibes of like psychological.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what is happening? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and that was like the first taste and instance besides Paprika that I ever had where I was like, what? I'm so hooked. I need to know what's happening. No
Yeah.
one knows what's happening. You know what I'm saying?
That's good. That's good.
I got some honorable mentions, a few more honorable mentions.
Sure.
I love anime. Fantastic Planet.
Okay.
This is I forget, probably from like the 60s. It's like a French film from the 60s. And then there's a newer one that came out probably a few years ago called Mad God. It's stop motion anime. And of course, classic Coraline.
Yes.
Fire.
Yeah, Coraline's classic.
Can't go wrong with those.
you know what's a good one that you caught up on? Pluto.
Yeah, Pluto's fire.
Pluto's really good.
That's
It's a
dope.
Been hearing
remake
good
of
things about that.
Really, it's a good remake of Astro Boy, a different, an older anime, one of the more classic animes back in the black and white, era. I just recommend watching. It's on Netflix, y'all. Just definitely watch it. Great watch. But yeah. So.
I have something to add to what Mello was saying, but I wanted you to like finish your thoughts before I fully like go into it. But it ties back into like another point that you made too in the past. But I do want to hear the rest of your animes though.
The rest, I got like Hajime no Ippo is one of those two.
Classic.
Yeah, and then Yu Yu Hakusho.
Love
yeah.
Yu Yu Hakusho. Yeah.
Also, I mean, kid playing with swords. Rurouni Kenshin.
Oh my God, I forgot to mention that too.
There is one anime that has haunted me my whole life because I saw them. You know, I come from a different country, and you know, power, lights, being able to watch something was a little bit difficult. So like sometimes you get hooked on something, and then you will lose power for 6 months. Like, you know, it's just what it was. So there's one anime I had never been able to find what it is, but it was, I think, is in the Gundam family, but it's like one of the early ones because the graphic was so bad. But it was this guy. It was robots. A person would get into a robot, but he had like an extra suit. Nobody else would have it. He had like a suit within the suit of his Gundam, and then the suit was like trying to take over his mind. Like it will affect his, like it was trying to take over. I still don't know what the hell that was. I don't know the name.
You gotta ask like ChatGPT.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do something because that's hard me trying to figure it out.
Is it Neon Genesis?
See, I will have to look at it because I don't even know the name. So I will have to but I'm gonna look that name up and see.
Fire.
Neon Genesis is a fire anime.
So he gets inside of a suit and to get into a mobile suit.
Like everybody will get into a mobile suit, regular, you know. But then he had like a thinner suit that was just for the body, and he was the only one of the only ones that had that ability to do that. It was,
It was a mobile. Nah, can't be like G Gundam.
No. I watched all of those.
Okay.
No. It's way, it's older.
Familiar.
Yeah, this is. I'm thinking I'm like 6 or 7. And that's one of the animes that used to haunt me because I since I went through that, since I couldn't finish the animes for the reason I mentioned, when I got here, I would research all the animes and like watch them back because I was left.
That's why you got back into anime. I gotta watch all the anime now.
I'm like, I don't know the ending to none of this shit. I gotta figure this out. I gotta figure out like who wins. Like, so I went back to any anime, and I do this till now. Any anime that I left like halfway, even if it's because like I got bored of it because it's too long. Like, Jesus, what's the name? Luffy.
One Piece.
Yeah,
One
like
Piece.
you know how many times I quit on One Piece and then come back. It's great. It's fucking
The goat.
amazing.
One Piece
But
is the goat.
sometimes like it was just like, all right, I'll lose the interest of it.
Yeah.
And then I have to come back like, no, I know it's coming. I know the good parts. I have to finish.
Right.
So I make myself, and I don't skip no episodes. Like I make myself go back and watch everything. I never leave it unfinished.
You had something
dope.
to add on that?
Yeah, who knows? I mean, maybe the reason why Tyri was here all along was to help you find that anime from 30 years ago.
No, I think the one you're talking about is called Neon Genesis Evangelion.
I'm gonna
That-
definitely check it out.
That is probably one of my favorites too.
I also heard that was a classic.
Yeah.
But yeah, so specifically like how you mentioned Naruto was like one of the ones that really got you involved in wanting to be a writer, you know. A fun fact about Naruto, I think the guy's name was Kishimoto, was the
writer?
mangaka. Yeah.
Yes.
So like a lot of his ideas that he made, like originally Naruto was supposed to be like a fox, I think. Like he wasn't even supposed to be a human. Like he had all these ideas, and like it was actually the editor,
I remember,
like who was involved on like
they told him no, right?
Yeah, like he told him like, nah, like that's whack. Like make him a real person, and then like, you know, the editor was the one who said, all right, like Naruto's cool, but you're gonna add Sasuke in there too, and like just all these ideas that like you would never think like came from the editor actually came from the editor and not like Kishimoto himself, you know. So I think like going back to how you were saying that like, you know, when you write these movies or when you write these scripts, you're gonna have to like give those pieces to like, you know, directors and other people.
Yes.
Like sometimes that could be actually to your benefit because they might like take what you originally like have and they might add something to it that just, it might be the Sasuke that, you know what I'm saying, just completely changes your story and makes it like way better than what you could have made like before. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
I think that's dope, but it's also very, it's a complicated thing.
it definitely is.
I started different projects, not all creatively, but just even in business. And sometimes when you have a vision and there's a lot of people involved, you have to be able to put your foot down and be like, I get it, but this is how I want it to go.
Yeah.
It ain't always gonna be that Naruto. Sometimes you get like a Game of Thrones in the mix where you're like, oh.
I learned that the hard way. Where I would start something, I would start a project, and it would get, for lack of a better word, hijacked, because of other people start coming in, and
It's like too many cooks in the kitchen.
it fails, and then I'm like, if I failed and it's on my terms, I'm cool with it. It's part of anything. But if you failed and you still didn't get to actually put it out how you wanted to put it out, you're always gonna have these second thoughts behind everything you do. So that's why, like I said, it's a very delicate balance, and it's very scary thing.
It is.
To let people in, basically.
Yeah, I think you gotta. For me, it's about like knowing that line. If someone brings me an idea, I think about it, and if it clicks right away, I'm like, all right, let's try it.
Yeah.
But usually, I'm like, you can tell. For me, I can tell when someone is like trying to take over the project and like making it to something it's not.
Yeah.
And I came across that a few times.
I was gonna ask you that question. I'm like, I know the project is done, but there's probably a lot of people that started and didn't make it to the finish line. That's always tough.
Yeah, there were definitely a few people that I was collaborating with at the beginning, where we were just kind of butting heads, and I was trying to like put into perspective of like where we're at and what I need from them creatively.
Yeah.
But I was starting to feel like that it was being hijacked, like you said.
Yes.
So I stepped away, and I'm like, you know what, like, maybe we can't collaborate right now, maybe down the line, but I just don't feel like this is getting anywhere.
And it's fine. Like I said, it's completely fine. There's no hard feelings. When I first started the studio, the idea came with a lot more people involved.
Yeah.
And before anything happened, it was already like there's too many, different ways that people wanted to take it. Ended up being, just two people. And it was, part of it was that reason. It's just a lot easier to get an idea done the way you well, first with the money you have to do it. Because I ran into that where like, I'm going to open a studio, and then they will start telling me all these crazy things. I'm like, yeah, but that's not possible at the moment. Like I understand that this is better, but that costs money. Like it has to be realistic for my budget. Like I understand that your idea, this is a grand idea and it might work, but
we got to start somewhere.
But you need a budget for that idea that we are not there. And it was hard to convey that to people at first, because they were just like, yeah, but you just like, yeah, but do you have that money?
I think that was one of the most liberating things about working with you on the movie, is that like, I know it's your vision, right? And I'm going to do my best to help bring your vision to life. But it was very liberating to just let me express this idea, and if he likes it, cool. But if he doesn't, or if he uses it somewhere else, it's whatever. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that. I think that was the biggest thing creatively that was different from like me and my brother making music, is that like it's not in my hands. Like you know what I'm saying? Or if like I give him a piece of something, a piece of music to work with, and he finds another place for it. Oh, cool, great. Like I didn't see it there, but it worked. like you know what I'm saying? Like and like I said, as long as you're happy with how everything came out, like that's the thing that made me the most happy. Like at the end of the day.
And like going back to Melo's point, I think that really just like strengthens your I would say like directing muscle in a sense, because like you work with people and you butt heads with them, and you still got the product out. So it's like now going into your next film, like you're not going to be afraid to like stand on your principles and kind of like execute the idea that you want, because you've already been tested and you didn't sacrifice the integrity of what you were trying to create. Whereas like that's a critical skill that like not everyone has. Sometimes they might hear like a little bit of criticism and like they don't have that self-conscious in their work. And so they change it, and now they end up losing like the integrity of what it was they were trying to make in the first place.
Right.
I think when I try to like collaborate with you guys about making like the intro and the outro to my the podcast for a little bit. It was like I had to share. We collaborate, which is good. Like we didn't have. I don't think we butt heads. I think we just kind of like we worked together very well. And that's why we continue to work on projects together. But we know where that fine line is to give each other respect. And I feel like sometimes when people step on toes, it's like, well, if you want to do that, why don't you do it then? You know what I mean? Like they see this opportunity. Sometimes people see
the
this
ego gets in the way.
Yeah,
Too much.
They see that you're doing something. You have a project, and because you're allowing them to be more free of some ideas, I'm not sure. I'm sure it's not on purpose that they're trying to like hijack the project. But I find it somewhat frustrating when like, when I have a guest and it's like, I'm trying to gear towards this way, but then it just keeps pulling to this direction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, well, I'm trying to talk about this, but you keep talking about that, and that's not what I want. It's very frustrating.
Yeah, it's hard to manage. It's hard to manage a lot of people. That's why I asked the question, because it's so difficult. And whoever has the vision, that's where... they always say it. You can't be a leader if you're not a good follower. Because to be a leader, you have to learn how to follow. Yeah. So whenever I'm working on a project, my main goal is find whoever has the vision for the project, and I try my best to make that vision possible for that person, whether I like it or not. It is not my vision. I might not like it, and it might be great, and that's fine. That's where a lot of people get stuck on. So if you're working with somebody, find the person who has the vision for the whole thing and try to make however he saw it is probably why we're all here. So let's try to be true to that point. It's very difficult though. It's very difficult.
I think it's I think it's easy for us to communicate with each other with some of the things that we work on. Like I think I gave some feedback to you about like some of the projects we worked on, but I never did know like, well, you should do this, you do this, and same thing. We've always collabed in a way where like as artists we try to be productive and like you should try this, maybe see how this sounds like. I think there's an approach to that comes along with it that gives each other respect to their art. And I'm assuming like when you work with artists or with actors, you have to give them their respect to their art craft also. Because I mean, you're working with Junior, you're working with Playwright, you're working with Christian and these guys on the music part, so you have to give them their their creative freedom in a sense. But outside of these guys, I mean, like, how difficult was it for you to work with some of these actors that might have a certain vision of how things came along?
Yeah, this was another thing I wrote down prior to the production of the film, was that I wanted to collaborate with like-minded, passionate people. Those are the only type of people that I wanted to work with. And again, I'm grateful and extremely fortunate that I was able to do that. Because even my DPs coming onto the project, they would, one of my other DPs, his name is Adrian. Shout out Adrian.
Shout out.
Did great work on the film. He would ask me, he's like, are you open to me like spending a little bit time getting this lighting right? I'm like, yeah, man, absolutely. Please do your thing and like add to like what you think is gonna make this film, to make this film better. And it was the same thing with the actors. I would have some actors like bring ideas to me, and I would look at their idea. I'd give it a few seconds. I would look at the location, the set that we're on, and then if it's starting to make sense to me, with the story in mind, I'm like, yeah, I really like that idea. Let's do it. Or I'm like, all right, let's try it. Let's see what it does. And it doesn't hurt to get the idea, even if I'm a little iffy about it.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt to get a take from it, because it might work better when I go to post, But I'm always open, especially if, you're, like you're saying earlier, if you're cognizant and aware of the original concept and the idea, and you want to add to that,
Enhance it. Yeah.
enhance it, absolutely.
Yes.
Like,
can't lose the main thing.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, every creative mind that comes to the project is going to make it better.
It's gonna add something.
Right. It's gonna make it better than what it like originally was.
That's really dope. That's really dope. I mean, I think it's interesting because you're collaborating with so much minds, right? Because when I'm writing something, those guys are working on something, Mel's working on something. Like, there's not a lot of involvement, I would say, with like, we're not dealing with 10, 20 people on a shoot, because you have to work with so many creative minds. How difficult was it for you to manage all those minds at the same time?
Yeah, so the film was shot in increments. So I was dealing with a set of like a crew of like 5 to 8 at a given time. I was never really dealing with all 20
Everybody
people
at the same time.
at the same time. Because again, there are 5 short films in the anthology. So the way I did it as I would piece each project to be filmed as its own project. So every project would have a different crew, and sometimes those sets would be bigger, sometimes they would be smaller, more intimate. So it was just I would approach each set the same way, just because at the end of the day, like, you can prepare as much as you want, but once you get on set,
you don't know what's gonna happen.
You just gotta go. Like, you gotta. For me, it's like I take that everything I've learned. I just gotta to trust that it's going to be there, and every time I'm on set, it's like I kind of lock into this flow state, and I just allow the natural rhythm of the film to progress. And usually it worked out the way that I would like it to. And then obviously when you get to post, you're like, I wish I could have done this, wish I could have done that. But that's
you getting better.
Yeah, it's that, and then it's also like the the flexibility and the openness to allow someone else to bring in their creative eye.
Alrighty, guys. Final questions, because I know we could keep going for 2 more hours. But, any last thoughts from everybody?
I just want to say, working on the film with you, I think was a great, incredible experience. I think that the way that you handled like directing and giving your feedback on scenes, saying what you thought worked, what didn't work, was like great. Like, and I look forward to working with you like on future projects, and I'm just super excited to see like what else you do.
Yeah, man, it was great working with you as well, and I'm extremely grateful that you guys took the chance. Because again, like I said, I knew it was going to be challenging, and that was the point. I told everyone that I worked with that this is going to be challenging, but that's what makes filmmaking. That's what makes art.
And it
fun.
couldn't have worked out better.
Exactly. So I'm grateful you guys took the chance. You believed in it, and now we're here, and we have a product, and we have a piece of art to show to people.
My question is gonna be I wanted to be short because I want us to anticipate. Like, what is your proudest part of this film that we gotta watch? What part is it?
Man,
and don't give a detail.
Yeah, don't give away.
Just
don't give away too much.
I'm gonna watch out for that.
I would say my favorite part of the film is definitely. I mean, I like all of it, but my favorite part is the concept, and the story is this guy who has been experiencing these strange dreams, and he is going to consult his therapist to discuss these dreams. And each dream is a different short film. So every time we dive into discussing one of these dreams, it goes into one of the short films. So I'd say the overall concept was one of my favorites. And then the very last short film, Transference, was my favorite. It was the highest quality production. We had, I co-directed with my partner, Yenny. She's an amazing partner. But it was the biggest set, the biggest production, great actors, and it was super fun. It really set a standard for like how I want my set to be.
So we gotta watch till the end.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Save the best for last.
Absolutely.
Anything from you, bro?
I would just say, like, being like considered to work on this was definitely like an amazing opportunity. And I almost feel like a part of me feels like I took it for granted. And like, I really would like to, like, on the next film, like really do more, like really challenge myself and not be so concerned with like perfection, and just like really just like contribute more like to like the process and you know, but like, you know, it was really just an honor just to even, you know, have involved or having been involved in that, you know, film. And my last question would be, do you want to go like is it Seth Rogen route where like he kind of like has his, you know, tried and true, like these are the people he likes to work with, and every single movie he makes, like he's always working with these people? Or now that you've like experienced a little bit of the collaboration, do you want to like continue to challenge yourself to work with new people and kind of like network and lean more into that aspect, or a little bit of both?
So me and my partner's goal is, our mission statement has been to increase the quality of our art. So my goal, to answer your question, I want to work with not only like-minded, passionate people, but I want to work with people who are not only going to challenge me, but who are also going to bring more quality and their own creative eye to the project.
Nice. For me, I don't really have a last question.
I got one, but go ahead.
Go.
I was going to ask you, you're screening in May, right?
Yep.
But like, I know that can't be the end for Glass Rabbit. Like, what other plans do you have for that?
Don't spoil anything
like-
now.
Glass Rabbit merch?
It's just one of those. Stay tuned.
Yeah, no spoilers. So Glass Rabbit will have its premiere on May 3rd, Entertainment Cinemas in Leominster, Massachusetts, 2:00. But me and my partner, we're looking to distribute it in other places. So we're going to try to give it a screening out in Boston. A lot of the cast and crew were Boston based. So we're going to try to get another venue out in Boston, give it another premiere. And we're also going to submit it to some festivals as well.
Dope.
We're going to try our best to get into some, you know, independent feature film festivals. And if we get accepted, it would be great. You know, get more eyes on it internationally, within the States and stuff like that.
I have some connections in New York, filmmakers and stuff too. So
Oh, hell yeah.
like we can also, you know what I'm saying? I can get in contact with them.
Let me know. We gotta give the film the respect and love it deserves. So we gotta
Definitely.
push it, put it out as many places as we can.
Nice. And for me, I just want to, give you your props. I believe anybody who makes anything for people to judge, whether good or not, just to have the balls to do it.
Absolutely.
You got my props, and I haven't even seen the movie.
Thank you.
But I will definitely, hopefully, get to see the movie. Hopefully, I could go.
Hope to see you there.
Just got to figure out my timing. Very busy, but I would love to go. And once the movie comes out, if you guys want to do this again, the studio is always open for you guys. You guys already know.
Absolutely.
And thank you for coming. And like I said,
Thank you for having me.
everybody go watch Glass Rabbit, man.
Be there or be square.
So one last time, just time, location, all that.
Yeah.
One more time, Ty.
Plug it one
Yeah,
more
so
time.
Glass Rabbit will be screening May 3rd at 2:00. Entertainment Cinemas, Leominster, Massachusetts.
How do we get tickets?
You can follow me on IG _TyGod. God is GAWD. And the Eventbrite is on there. You can purchase your tickets right off the link in my bio.
You guys have it. E.D.J. Studios, the E.D.J. Podcast. Thank you.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace.